Hello everybody and welcome to What Does The Witcher 2 Better Than The Witcher 3? So, I'm not really going to say that I prefer one over the other. I think that the games are pretty different in their own ways. I mean, there are just a lot of changes made in The Witcher 3 that are very different from The Witcher 2. So, first off, the graphical style in The Witcher 2 is pretty different than the one in The Witcher 3. The Witcher 2 has, if you compare say this forest to a forest in The Witcher 3, you will see that this forest is very different. It is in a lot of ways much more dense with massive trees and everything. The Witcher 3 doesn't have that. The Witcher 3 is a beautiful game, but The Witcher 2 is as well, and this game is a lot older. I think The Witcher 3 looks better, but this might be a bit more interesting to some people. The variety is really massive in The Witcher 2. And yes, The Witcher 3 has variety with all the locations that you can go to. But there are still some things that I think The Witcher 2 has above it, at least in terms of its terrain and its visuals. It's just a very good looking game and it also runs very good. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is a pretty important thing in The Witcher, and that is the combat. Well, the combat is pretty similar. I personally like the combat a bit more maybe in The Witcher 2, but more in terms of not the controls. I think the controls are much better in The Witcher 3. At least how they are mapped. In this game they are, for me, in a bit of a weird way mapped, but you can change it, and honestly what I like more is very simple. So in this game you can very easily actually vary a lot of attacks, because basically you can do it against human enemies, but you can also do it against enemies that are non-human.
Death to all shit-eaters!
That is something that is pretty different in The Witcher 3, because in that game really rolling and dodging is much more advised to use than actually parrying, because they a lot of times go through it. So in this game you can indeed vary with both. And that is something that you might be like very similar, because it is. I also feel that this game is a bit more difficult, but you can absolutely say it's difficult in this. So that's something that I understand. But overall I feel like the weapons have much more impact. And science has more impact as well. When you burn somebody, it burns them. Look at the damage it does. It does a lot more damage. Blood on your weapon and everything looks cool. And yes, it is something that The Witcher 3 has very good as well. But I just want to say it, that this feels a bit more fun to do. Attacking enemies just feels much more smoother, and it feels like there's a bit more impact in it. Still not the best. Look, I personally favor a game like Dark Souls a lot, because the combat in that game is heavy. And this combat is not heavy, it's quite, I do attack relatively fast, but Geralt is absolutely not the fastest, person. Like his dodge roll is pretty slow and everything. So personally, it's not that I like The Witcher 2 combat a lot more, but in The Witcher 3, the most thing that I didn't like with that game is simply the combat. The combat is absolutely not the best part of that game, and it is sad to say, but it is. The combat just has, well, some problems, and it's not the most interesting combat, and it's weird because, well, very simply, you expect it to be good, because you be doing a lot of combat in that game. But this game I favor combat. Signs actually do a lot of damage. They are useful in it, but in this game they do damage. And it gives a lot of impact. You see, I got knocked out there because it has a massive massive weapon, so that is understandable. See, I'm not doing that much damage. That is something that The Witcher has. It's not like you're going to kill enemies very quickly, but in some ways I think it is just a bit more fun in this game. But that is all personal, and honestly I don't think both games have that great. I like The Witcher 1 in terms of combat a lot more actually. I think it is much more interesting. But I also think in that game it's something that some people will probably not like. So then the quests, and especially the Witcher contracts are pretty different in this game. So in this game, you see I have my little mini map there and I have my big map. So, you know, this game is not open world. I have to keep that in mind. So that is a bit different. So you see tracked grass, but you might be like, well, there's nothing on the map. Because I actually have to search this for the location. I have to run around and, you know, use my Witcher senses to find the location where the Knacker nests are. This is unique and this is cool. It's a cool feeling when you complete the quest. It's not just, you know, hold left trigger and, you know, go to the yellow circle and search there, and, you know, the red things pop up you can interact with. Yeah, in that game, in The Witcher 3, it's much, it's all thrown in your face. Look, the journal in this game, as an example, like, it has no short, like, markers there, like in The Witcher 3 you have little tips, or basically, you know, it explains everything very quickly and you can easily see it. That is a bonus. I think that this game does it worse, but you actually do have to read in this game, because this does not explain everything. It explains something about the monster, but not its weakness. I actually have to go to my inventory. What actually sucks, the inventory system is better in The Witcher 3, I have to say that. I have to go around to a book, search around for a book that is about, say, knackers, read it, and I learn, hey, you know, they are weak against poison, oil, you know, knacker nests are best destroyed by grape shot bombs. I think it's actually the only way to destroy them, but it explains it in a cool way. You actually have to read it. I have to say, when you read a book, it probably could like add it in a journal. You know, that's something that they don't do, but it actually makes me interact with it much more, because I actually need to search information about something. And it is useful because, say, with, I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but the Andragas, like these enemies, they actually, to get the queen, you need to destroy these sort of nests and spots that you're in. You have to read that and you have to look around for them. And you can easily find the knacker's nest. It's not that difficult, because when you see knackers, there's a nest. This makes a lot of sense, and it's actually fun. It feels a bit more hardcore in its way. And this game is in a lot of ways that much more. I think that this game just has things that are very interesting in it and just make it a bit different. I think this is something that some people will hate. I am going to be honest with you, because it is something that some people will hate. Not everybody likes these systems, and I personally think that is, you know, pretty logical. Not everything is going to want to read, not everybody, I mean, is going to want to read to like, you know, books and your journal for completing a mission. And that is actually completely understandable. But maybe at both, maybe in lower difficulties you got the information, but higher difficulty you don't. But there is no mix, there is no yes or no in this way. Basically you get it or you don't. First off, if people want to know, you know, I was happy with The Witcher 3. I think that it is a game that a lot of people will defend like it's a perfect game. I don't feel that way. I think it has some problems, but it has some good things as well. Say, I like Gwent, but say you don't like Gwent, you're probably going to have a bit less interesting time with it because of that. And you might be like, well, you can skip it. Yeah, but you're going to fail some quests. You're going to miss out some things. Yeah, Gwent is an important thing. But The Witcher 2 has that as well. I like Gwent, but I do not like the dice game in this game. I don't like it. I don't. I have to say I like, say, the brawls in this game, like the fist fights a bit more. Yes, they are quick time events, but in The Witcher 3 I always found they were clunky. Enemies dealt a lot of damage with their punches, killed you in like 3 shots, and you had to actually do a ton of attacks to actually kill them. I thought these things were not that challenging because you can just dodge, but I thought it was just a bit boring. And for me, that is something that I don't like. But like I said, it's not that this game is in a lot of ways better. I'm not saying that, but there are some things that this game is better. And it's not like The Witcher 3 is, you know, the all perfect game that exists. Yes, it is a good game, but this game is a good game as well, and I just think that people also, you know, I recommend this game also. Like the oil system in this game, I don't like. I like it that they actually get, you know, when you make them once they come back, because very simply, you're going to need a lot of so I completely understand that. But I just feel that the combat is a bit more friendly. And I also feel like it's more hardcore game. It's just something that I really admire because it makes this game much more different than a lot of games of this genre. Because like, first off, The Witcher 3 you can play a lot more than I have to say. You can play this game and take around, you know, it depends, 20 to 30 hours I would say. But after that, you know, you're gone. And yes, you can get multiple endings and everything. Not everybody likes it, and I'm not the biggest fan of it either. In The Witcher 3, you got tons of missions or quests and everything you can do. There is a lot of content in it. And the content is fun, there is variety in it. That is something that I like. I say also like the skill tree system just a bit more in this game. Why? Because it actually makes more changes. Yes, it makes more changes. You know, where you can counter enemies' blows. You know, you got things like say with parrying, you unlock a lot of things. You know, throw daggers. You can use traps to hunt enemies. You know, redirect arrows. All these things. I understand in some ways that you don't have to do it in The Witcher 3 because you're already like, you're already older. You know, you have all that experience. You know how to parry because, well, why would you not? You knew it in The Witcher 2, so I understand that. But the skill tree in this game just feels more fun. In The Witcher 3, I felt that the skill tree was really boring, and I never really felt that it changed that much. I had a good skill tree with some good skills, but nothing more. And while I indeed still got like skill points to spend, it didn't matter because my skill slots were full. And it also didn't matter because, well, I was just good. Like, I had no problems anymore with the game. So that is something that I have to say, but it is also like a very personal thing. Some people will like it and some people will not. I think that searching around in this game can be a massive problem. And I would wish that this game was actually open world as well. But just that you can place things like traps and you got throwing knives and everything, it is pretty unique. Why they taken it out, I don't really know. I'm not somebody that uses the traps that much, but they are useful against a certain boss. Actually, the first sort of boss or like enemy that you have to hunt, actually it's very useful if you use that against him. But it all comes down to what you also think of it. It is all very personal, and I'm not saying that I hate The Witcher 3. I actually like it and I think it's a very good game. For me it is indeed the top game of the year, at least when it was released, because it is. I think it is a good game, but I also think that some people forget that it has some problems. I personally hate it when you actually, because I did miss that. I only failed one quest, and that was the Gwent quest, because in the beginning I didn't do Gwent, because I just wasn't that good at it. It's not that it's a massive problem, but, well, it's just, I just can't, I can't really stand there when I fail a quest. That's not what I want, right? So I had to actually, well, restart. Well, not really. I went in New Game Plus and fixed it, but it's stupid because it's easily missable in that quest. You can miss it, and I think it's something I don't understand why they added that you can fail something. I also failed another mission, but that was actually because you had to do it before the port. I understand that you could not do that mission then in terms of the storyline, because it would not make sense. When a person is not there, you can't complete the quest. But I would like it a bit more if there was actually a bit of a way to say fix it, like that somebody takes it over or something. I think that a lot of people do not like it when you feel aggressed. Some people would not care, but I thought it was something that I did care about, and I felt a little bit sad. I don't really understand why they give you like such a state. I think it's stupid. And yes, the game had some bugs, but they are fixed now. But with the new DLC, there are also, bugs. I do not have the new DLC yet because, very simply, I will probably make a video about it. I can't fucking get it. It's almost nowhere. Yeah, I actually did order it, but it's going to take a long time to get it. But it's just that I don't understand why it's nowhere. I don't really do. But that is okay. Like I'm not that against it. But I have to say some things. I just wanted to say these things. That what The Witcher, 2 does better, and there are just things that it does better. And personally, a lot of games these days want to go open world, and in The Witcher I think it helped the game, but it is also something like it doesn't always help with all the games. I don't really understand it, why a lot of games go open world and then don't care about, say, the story. Keep in mind, I am not talking about The Witcher right now, but just some games do it. Like they go open world, are good open world games, but the story, it's not there. It's a bit sad. I think that Metal Gear Solid 5 had it, a game that I enjoyed a lot, but the story in that game, well, there wasn't a lot of it. And as somebody, who likes the Metal Gear franchise, well, the Metal Gear Solid franchise, let's say that, I feel a bit sad that happened. So I think that in The Witcher 3 it made sense. Like when I play this game back, I wish that it was open world. I really do, because it's great. I mean, it was so cool if this was open. Like, and there were problems like you can't run. That is something that I hate. You have to sort of run, but you can't like sprint. You're not that fast. You can't fast travel. You can't go back to areas. These are some things that you have to keep in mind. But like I said, it's all very personal in a way. Like I think that this looks so good. Like the grass looks good, like the trees. It's really cool on this side. Like you like the birds and everything. It's cool. I think that is there's a lot of attention to detail in the Witcher games in general, and I don't think it's lost. But I think that these are different games. And to be honest with you, I recommend the whole franchise. If you were like, hey man, I love The Witcher 3, but never played another Witcher game, I recommend you to actually pick them up. They are cheap for a lot of times, they are very cheap, they are fun to play, they have a good amount of content, and you will learn a bit more about the story. And it's a bit personal, but I felt that the story did have a bit more consequences in The Witcher 2. There were some actually choices, like one choice would actually give you a different path. Well, that is something that I understand they can't do, and I think that they do that because, well, they wouldn't give you like a multiple path. Like if they would do it in like an open world game, you would want to do both paths. But there are just some choices in this game that are very different from it. I think that there is some, it's a very dramatic game, it's a sad game and everything. But most of the story, you're actually, searching for a character and doing like a lot of sidetracking. That's what happened with me, and that's what open world games tend to do with me. I get, lost, and I do tons of missions and never even do the main story. Yeah, that's something that happened. And in this game, that isn't the case, but I'm also a bit more like the others. These big battles in this game, the bosses, there are some really big bosses, and like the first boss, that is a big boss. And not from Metal Gear Solid, which is the big boss, and that is not in The Witcher 3. The bosses are pretty small. Like there are some bigger ones, but not as big as here. And I don't think they have that much. Like I might miss a side quest where it's like, tell me, but is there actually a boss where you actually have to like where you can like cut off his limbs to do damage to him and everything? Like that is cool, and there are just so many cool things around. Like I really like the franchise. Like I always did, and I think that the games have, you know, good things in their own right, but there are some things that they change. And I think that some people will probably not like that. I think there are some, you know, fans of The Witcher 2 who really like this style more, who maybe don't like the open world, because, like I said, that's what happened. In this game I do indeed the side missions as well, but I'm not like that. It's not that drastic right now. Like, I can take my time because there's also not that much happening right now in the story, you know, and I do need, you know, to upgrade my gear and everything. But in The Witcher 3 it's drastic, you know. I have to actually do that, but I can't really. Like, yeah, I can go on with the main story. Well, I will probably be a low level, but it's just that it's weird that that works like that. But I'm just like doing all these things. Like, it's something that, you know, Fallout 4 they had much worse. Like, you have to search for your son, and that is dramatic. You have to do that, right? Because you don't wanna like let your son die. You know, you don't know what happened to him. You know, but it's just off. You know, you're joining like a Brotherhood of Steel, doing their quest line, like all these things, and that is something that is weird. And that is what open world games just tend to do. They tend to you know, give you such a massive world to explore that you get lost, and that is something that happened with me with The Witcher 3. And in a story sense, it doesn't make that much sense. It's not that I am against it, but it is a bit different. And the story, the ending and everything, like, well, the late game part, I enjoyed the story a lot, and I enjoyed the side quests a lot. But the main story is actually probably for me the weakest part in some areas, because you are just searching around, and that is why I think the side quests that you have to do, like the Bloody Baron one is one, you know, it sort of focuses on the main quest because you want information, but to get that information you have to go a very different quest, and that is something that I like in some ways. I think that is cool how they mix it, but it's also like, it's a side quest, but not really, because it's like the main story. But it makes the main story, if you talk about it like that is only the story, a bit boring, because the main story is not that, at least in the beginning, well, sort of in the middle half. Like, the beginning is really cool. You get all these, like, sort of the prologue, and then like the ending part. I like the story a lot, but it is also something that I do like to say that about. Like, I like it, and I mean, it is great that like everybody is voiced. Characters do look different, you know. There are just so many things. I mean, if you got hyped for The Witcher 3, what I did, get quite a bit before it was released, I think you are not going to be disappointed, because they are not like, lately I'm getting disappointed by things like the Division and everything, you know, because they are, you know, the graphical downgrade. Like, there was I think a graphical downgrade with The Witcher 3, but it still looks good. Like, the Division I don't think looks very good, and like gameplay things like that they change and everything. Like, The Witcher 3, I think they made actually good changes in a lot of ways, because like right now they changed, you know, the inventory system, and I like it. I think it looks good, it looks better. It's very similar, so you immediately, you know, what to do. So that is all important, and that is very good that they do that. I mean, that is something that is important in a game like that. And what I love in The Witcher 3 is also, you know, that doors like a loading screen, but in like Fallout 4, every fucking area you go in has a loading screen. This is something that I sort of don't like that much about Bethesda games. They are indeed open in their ways, but the loading times are pretty long. Yes, I got a fast SSD, so it loads quickly, but it's still always a loading time, and you see like dozens of them, because you are going to be traveling a lot. The Witcher does it where, you know, it's not from area to area, but it's actually like fully open, at least the regions that you are, because all the houses you can go in, you know, you just open the door, no loading screen, no, you can just rush in there quickly, nothing, no loading screen. You go to, like when you are in Velen, you go to Novigrad, or Novigrad, don't know what to call it. You go in there, no loading screen, you just go in there. That is cool, and it keeps you in the game. And I think it's a pretty immersive game. I think this game is actually pretty immersive as well.
Damn it. It'll wash away the
Oh.
tracks.
Like I actually do the side, I never noticed that. So rain does more damage, that's cool. It also looks cool, like this game looks so good. It does have like quite a bit of bloom, but I mean it looks cool. But these are things that I really like about it, and there are some, you know, some interesting thing, and there is attention to detail in the whole Witcher franchise. There is attention to detail, like the characters, they are so fleshed out. Like it is true that even minor characters are fleshed out, because they are. That's just, you know, like, you know, I think the Bloody Baron, I think he's a pretty big character, not in the whole scheme of things, but he has an important thing in it. But even, you know, from like small, you know, little Witcher contracts where you learn, you know, the fate of these people, and sometimes, you know, you really feel sad for them because, you know, something happened to say somebody, and then, you know, she died or killed herself, and she haunts that place like as a raid, and you have to kill her, and you really feel for that. That is something that is great, and in an open world game I've never really had that before a lot of times. There are, you know, some games that do it, but in like that big of a scale I've not really seen it. So let's actually end this sort of talk about it right now, because, you know, I want to know you guys' opinion on it. You know, what game do you actually like more, and, you know, what sort of mechanics do you think you like more, because the mechanics are very different in between the games. Like The Witcher 1 is also very different, but, you know, that is the thing. Like, what do you like? Like, I think a lot of people will probably say The Witcher 3 because, you know, it's getting like this thing where people love the shit out of it, but, you know, I only picked it up from The Witcher 3, and I did as well. I mean, I never played the original Witcher games because I knew about them, but I didn't really knew what sort of games they were. I only saw The Witcher 2 like for the Xbox. I always thought it was like an Assassin's Creed game because it was like Assassins of Kings, and it was like an Assassin's Creed Easter egg because I heard about that, and I was like, yes, maybe sort of like Assassin's Creed. I always thought that, but it is different, so I have to say that. And I mean, I am enjoying my time a lot with it, so yeah. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I see you guys next time.